So once again, we have another Resident Evil trailer just dropped. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So it's the ensemble cast, Resident Evil Dead Island. It's the Avengers Assemble moment of the Resident Evil series, which I thought we were going to be seeing this in the games first before we'd see it in a movie form, but here we are. Uh, so this is a lot of like a mashup between the OG timeline and the Resident Evil remakes all being mashed together. All the old voice actors, including instead of Nick, the one that played Leon in RE2 and RE4 remakes now, it is actually Matt Mercer. So he's coming back to reprise his role because this is a direct sequel to Resident Evil Vendetta. That being said, this is basically based in all the lore of the OG lore instead of the remake timeline, which, if you follow my channels at all, you'll know that in my brain, the Resident Evil has two different timelines, which there's a lot of people have been asking the question of like, is there officially a word of this? Which Capcom really hasn't given an official word on this yet. But it seems like for a lot of us, there is the OG timeline, which is the original games, Resident Evil, 1 through Resident Evil 6. And then for the remakes, they kind of shifted things around. It's kind of an alternate timeline a little bit. And there is, the remakes are based upon the originals, but there is definitely a different like cast of characters going on. So what we're seeing here is a lot of the original timeline voices, but also the remake timeline voices mixed with some of the characters. Like Claire kind of looks like Code Veronica Claire, and yeah. So let's get into this. Let's check this out. This is pretty cool what they got going on with this. So, but Resident Evil Death Island, let's do it.
After all she's been through, she's trying to make up for what happened to her.
You mean how Wesker brainwashed her and made her come after us?
Again, original timeline.
No one. Except Jill.
Dr. Taylor?
I think
Yes,
Jill's on an
we need to make
investigation in that
custody
scene.
I checked the DNA we got from a bite wound on an
Revelations 1.
It had a strain of T virus in it. You're kidding.
I found the connection between the folks that were infected. They all visited Alcatraz recently.
Well, Dr. Taylor, it's time we debuted our
I think it's a new bad guy.
creation.
New bad guy specifically for this movie.
And without being bitten.
I'm Rebecca. What do you want me to tell them?
Someone accessed the DoD's server. They managed to steal data on Leon, Jill, Chris, and Claire.
You think this might have something to do with the Operon now?
Most likely.
They stole
Going to use my virus to clean the slate.
they stole information on the original Stars team.
Suckers, you're nothing more than pawns.
That can't be good.
Yeah.
Matrix action. Jill's straight up just like Trinity. A nice little throwback.
He's all yours.
Again, a nice little throwback.
The final stage now. That there is no justice.
Well, it's over now, asshole. Time to light you up.
Let's do it. All of us.
Claire's over there flipping, dipping.
Biohazard. Island. Definitely going on vacation after this.
After hearing it a few times, yeah, that definitely actually does sound like Matt. Matt Mercer it's funny because Nick Apostos, he was just sitting there saying like, hey, all my friends are in the Resident Evil remake or in the Resident Evil universe once again, and Matt Mercer was over there just like, thanks for being so good of a Leon, taking up the mantle and carrying the torch of Leon in the RE2 remake and RE4 remake. So there's actually some details in this. We're gonna slow this down a little bit. So this is my second time kind of come back and re-recording this because I missed some details, and then there was also the voiceover thing. I didn't quite catch that it was the original voice cast coming back. So Rebecca. So one thing with the remake timeline is, in all honesty, we don't know who exactly Rebecca is. We don't know what she's been up to, what her character truly is, because she's not in the timeline that I see being very like lore friendly and chronological. Like there's this big debate of like, in RE1 remake, who is the actual like chronological ordered, because it's like a case, a third party report case of like what happened in the Spencer incident or mansion incident. So there's a lot of people that argue it's the Chris side. A lot of people that argue it's the Jill side. So which one is the actual canon lore of the whole thing? I personally think it is Jill's side of things because Chris kind of goes on assignment, and then we also have RE3 remake is full on with Jill being there, and Chris, he is gone for RE2 remake and all that. So like Chris is just on assignment so much that I think it's like Jill is more or less like the canon lore, the solid lore set is around, like Jill is a main character, Leon is a main character, and then Claire is also main character because of the B side of, like Carlos is kind of a secondary character. It's basically Jill, Leon, and like Chris is technically kind of a side character. I know a lot of people will be like, but RE5 remake. Or RE5 is a thing. Well, RE5 remake is not a thing. And yes, RE4 remake is somewhat setting up for possibly Chris to be returning, but at the same time, they haven't gotten there to do any of that stuff yet. So that's why I'm like, okay, well, with this scene here, it's 100% setting up that this is the OG timeline. All right, sure. This is, though, it's remake. It's remake Jill. Now the thing of this, again, having all the like all the like Nicole Thompson is coming in to play Jill again. It's this whole thing is just a mashup of both OG and remake timelines thrown together. This is very much like a movie type of experience. I would take this as a one-off movie. I would not take this as like, oh, this is going to tell the story of exactly what's happened in the remake timeline and the original time. No. So that's, this right here looks like Code Veronica, Claire, if you will. But also this moment right here is basically based off from it's almost in reference to Revelations 1, where Claire goes down and actually checks out the beach side and finds, the same thing happens in Revelations. Now, the reason why I wanted to slow this down so much, again, this is very much, this looks like RE5, OG original RE5 Chris, but also it looks almost like, Resident Evil Village's Chris's face, sort of. Then we also had the Chris's face from RE7, which was a totally different character model altogether. But again, I think this is just a mixed mashup. Are they alluding to what Rebecca is going to be like in future games? I don't think so. I think this is just like OG Rebecca, and that's that's the references that they're going off from here. But this is also RE3 remake, Jill. So it's like, again, the mashup happening. Interesting that they said that they have the Umbrella Corporation people. So this is not Blue Umbrella either, that's another major thing that gets shifted in the remake is the whole thing of Blue Umbrella. Not quite sure who this is. Could be a returning character. No, I don't think this is a returning character. I think this is a new character. I think the villains in this are brand new for the movie. If not, then it's something that I'm not remembering exactly. This looks like Jill's outfits. That, like, maybe Wesker has his hands in this somehow, or this could be something to do with Spencer, possibly. Again, who knows where in the timeline this actually is setting up to be a part of. Is Spencer dead? Is he not? This is a direct sequel to Vendetta, which Give me 1 sec. Okay, so just to get a refresher of exactly what Vendetta was, plot set between RE6 and 7 during 2014 BSA agents tracking Glenn Arias, an American death merchant, former CIA, who is wanted by both. Again, it's a movie, and that's why I said like 6 to 7, the remakes start happening and the timeline gets shifted all around. So like the chronologically 6 does not really actually connect too well to 7 because of all the kooky stuff that they were doing in RE6. 4 months later, Professor Rebecca Chambers, member survivor of the Mansion incident, studies a new virus called the A virus, the O'Malley virus. Yeah. Capable of lying dormant inside an individual until the right trigger is represented. So again, this is a direct sequel to this. So if we're talking 6 to 7, then yeah, Spencer would have been dead already and all that stuff. Again, going off from OG original timeline lore. So they have taken all the DNA, I think it is said in there.
They all visited Alcatraz recently.
Well, Dr. Taylor, it's time we debuted our creation.
God damn it!
They turn fast and without being bitten.
So again, it's a brand new creation of another virus that they got to take down that is in Alcatraz. Now, you don't hear about anything about this virus most likely in any of the other remake games or the timeline that follows past the remakes, which is, again, 7 through Village at this point. The reason being because old timeline. So this is the one.
Tell them.
Someone accessed the DoD's server. They managed to steal data on Leon, Jill, Chris, and Claire.
You think this might have something to
So they stole details.
Leon, Jill, DoD's server. They managed to steal data on Leon, Jill.
Okay, so details is not like DNA or anything. That's why I was wondering, did they have like their blood sample or something? Okay, so that's like somebody is setting up. So I'm kind of wondering if it's Wesker. Well, no, this is OG timeline, so Wesker is dead in this timeline. So the new Wesker, like this the movie's version of Wesker, basically, that's what they're kind of setting up with this. Again, if you're trying to connect this to the actual timeline that is going on with like 7 through Village, it's not going to connect because this is OG timeline. So probably this looks like a mixture of Wesker and Spencer thrown together. It's that type of situation going on with it. Very interesting movie. And again, too, this whole thing that's happening right here of Avengers Assemble, basically, the movie. Again, this movie just feels like it's a one-off. It's very cool. It's awesome seeing it. I can't wait to watch it and see what kind of crazy stuff that ends up happening, especially with all the the flipping and dipping in the Matrix style stuff. Like, this feels like Resident Evil meets Matrix, and that's two of my favorite things. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, let's do this. But yeah, I mean, hell, I just it's just awesome seeing all these characters interacting together. Some Leon and Jill never talked to each other over all these years of all these different games and movies and everything else that have come out. This is going to be the first time these two ever interacted with one another. That's awesome seeing it. Yeah. I just, what else is there to say other than, I will be making a lore video too. I got a big project lore video that I'm working on right now of like the reason why I'm saying all this stuff about an OG timeline and the alternate timeline of being the remake. Like we are in like this new timeline for Resident Evil. I will have a big project video like setting up like here is all the different timeline things, and I won't be saying anything of OG timeline, just the remake timeline, and where we might be going after 4. And there will probably be a little bit. Actually, I think I might just make it up to 4 of what we've seen there. And then I'll make a separate video talking about like 4 onwards. So it'll be a 2-part video basically of talking, setting up all the different timeline and chronological order of everything. That's in the works, and yeah, I'll be streaming more Resident Evil, so come through and check out the Twitch channel and all that stuff. This looks absolutely awesome. Everything and anything on this is looking super cool. So, anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. I don't want to make the video too long. But yeah, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and be on the lookout for new videos of Resident Evil stuff, of course, in the future that I'll be into doing and everything. If we have another Resident Evil game announced or something, I'll be definitely streaming that. So you can go follow the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Warwolf. You can like, subscribe, and hit the bell over here on the YouTube side of things to see whenever I post up anything on it. Yeah. Death Island, Biohazard Death Island. This looks so much like the Matrix logo. I love it. It's even green tinted and everything too. It's like very, everybody's doing all their, like I said, Matrix type of moves and everything. It's super cool. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by, and as always, I will see you next time.